What's up? It's your boy Sean P coming in live, give you another live experience, man. We are right back in it, right back in the driver's seat, man. We're doing the season 2 of the Sean P Presents series. For those that don't know, I'll be your host rocking with you tonight. Your boy Sean P, and my sister Dia is already in the building. We going straight to it, right? Let me send her the invite. We ain't gotta waste no time. The invite. So while I get my sister do a reintroduction for those that are new to the page, you're new to the channel, you just started following. I am Sean P. Sean SPOLIDORE, 5-time. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I thought it was feedback. Okay.
No, I'm on my
Sean
computer.
SPOLIDORE. It's all good. Sean SPOLIDORE, 5-time self-published author, also public speaker, educator. But more than anything else, I love interviewing some of my most talented and amazing friends in Bookstagram and beyond. So this is the season 2 of Sean P Presents. Kicking off the season, I have my sister, author D.L. White, in the building. She is here, my sister.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. You are perfect. You are perfect. You are perfect. Yes.
Hopefully my AirPods hold.
Yes. So both of us know that Black ReaderCon coming up tonight, 1619 project. We're gonna be responsible with the time. So I won't waste your time. I'm gonna go straight to the meat and potatoes, right? So let's start off with Brunch at Ruby's. Brunch at Ruby's. For those that don't know, this is the first book that I've read this year. Was her book, the first book. Loving it, amazing, awesome characters, phenomenal scenarios, great scenery and the world building and descriptions and things of that nature. So tell me, first of all, out of your catalog of books, what number is Brunch with Ruby out of your catalog?
Brunch is the first. That's my debut.
The debut. Okay, this is even better.
Yeah.
So what was the spark and the catalyst that said, you know what? This has to be the story. What was that spark?
I think for me, it was my own brunch group. I am still in a brunch group. We just hit 10 years in 2020, I think. So it was just women that were friends, you know, friends of friends of friends, and said, hey, I want to start a brunch group. Do you want to be in it? I love brunch. So, and I knew a couple of people that were had already in the group, and so we got together, and it was like different women from different areas of life. One was a paralegal, one's a professor, one's a wealth management, you know, I'm an executive assistant, one's a personal shopper, one lives in Buckhead, which is like the rich inner city part of town, one lives way out in Gwinnett, out in the boonies. So women from different walks of life, different financial situations, different, I mean, some were married, some were single, but we would all come together once a month and talk and laugh and give advice and take advice and just like have a good fellowship time. And really over the last 12 years have built this deep friendship and trust. And like, if I got a question, I just pop up my brunch group and ask them. And, you know, really from that, like a bunch of different things were just happening at once. Like if you live in Atlanta, you know about the Atlanta cheating scandal. There were a bunch of teachers that were arrested and indicted over this scandal. They were trying to arrest the superintendent over changing answers on these standardized tests. It was a big deal.
Wow.
There's a book called None of the Above that is all about the Atlanta cheating scandal, and it is so good, so good.
I gotta go and find that.
Yeah, it's really good. It's nonfiction, so you know if I say it's good, it's good. So that's all about the cheating scandal. But so I'm driving to work every day, and I am hearing these stories on NPR about so-and-so was indicted and so-and-so is going this court case. And then I'm thinking in my mind, like the story just writing itself, like what if it wasn't a teacher what if it was someone higher up, like not the superintendent, but maybe a principal? And what if, I don't want to write about cheating, but maybe like it was a mistake that she made and she got caught. Like the story starts where she gets caught. Like the story is not about Deborah having an affair. The story is about everything that happens to Deborah after she has had this affair and she gets caught, and now she has to come clean because it's gonna have repercussions. So
Yes.
it was like me just chatting with my brunch group about, hey, I got this idea for this story. And they're like, you should write it. And I was like, because at the time I was writing fan fiction. It was a thing I enjoyed. It made me happy. I was writing like novel length fan fiction. So they could have been books anyway. And people were like, you should maybe really try commercial writing. And I was like, whatever. But this story really stuck with me. And what happens with me is I get an idea and it doesn't go away. And it starts writing itself in my head. And then once I know like the first chapter, like how the book opens and kind of how I want it to end, I know that I'm ready to start writing. And so I just, 2011, I started writing that book. It took me 4 years to write it because I was not ready to write it when I started writing it. But I pushed through and published in March of 2015.
Yes, yes. So this fan fiction you was writing, first of all, like how long were you doing that process? And second of all, do you still have this fan fiction? Like, are you going to do something else with it? Are we going to see something else come out of that? Or
I was writing NSYNC fan fiction. I'm a big NSYNC fan. If you could see my room, you would see my little corner. I have my little shrine to my boys here in the corner. And I was a big NSYNC fan. So I was writing NSYNC fan fiction because it was fun. In 2008, my baby brother died in a car accident. He was 22. He left behind a son. And so it was a large shock to our family. And, I was dealing with that, and like, I really enjoy the music. It makes me happy. So I just remember stepping outside of, that house and funeral arrangements and people dropping by and flowers and funeral food and just people everywhere and the phone ringing nonstop. And I would step outside and stand on the porch and had my, my Sony cassette thing and listening to the music because it was something that took my mind off of what was going on. And then my family all lives in Washington, and I came home and I got to be across the country from my parents who were openly grieving and dealing with losing their son. My brother is dealing with losing his brother, and I'm not an emotional person. If I cry, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. I'm not emotional. So, but I had these feelings and these emotions, and I had to find a way to emote. I had to get the feelings out, and my way really of dealing with all of this was to write. It was something I had to get out. And so I started writing fan fiction really to just have some way to express some emotion. And I wrote for like 3 or 4 years. I still write every once in a while. I'll pop up a story. I actually own the fan fiction archive because I couldn't stand to see it disappear. So I own the archive. All my stories are still up. If you go to my website, it's booksbydlwhite.com/freebies. There are some of my longer, better fanfic stories that I formatted into ebook, so you can add them to your Kindle and read at your leisure. Do not expect them to be any kind of literary genius. They are just fun stories about my favorite pop group. But I do have a couple of stories that I wrote that people were like, no, this is just too damn good, and I need you to unfanfic this and publish it. And I really poo-pooed it at first, but I actually have 3, but one's I unpublished one because it really was bad. It really was a bad book. But stories that I took from my fan fiction work and rewrote them into commercial releases. So A Thin Line, if you read A Thin Line, that used to be fan fiction. That one's really fun to read. And same time next week, which I unpublished, I think, in 2018-ish. So if anybody's ever read that one also used to be fan fiction. But I do still write every once in a while. It's like it's a great proving ground for writers. Like if you want to write, find your favorite fandom, figure out where they post their fan fiction, and just try your hand at it. Because I was reading it and really liked it and thought, well, I think I can do this. And it was such great practice because that world is already built. You don't even have to build the world. That world is already built, but you get to create your own original characters to interact with those characters that already exist. And the fandom is built in. You don't even have to seek out people to read it. People are dying to read your work because it's like you take your favorite show and they have this set ending and that's how it ends. But in fan fiction, you can flip it and reverse it. What if this? What if she didn't say that? What if it went further? What if the ending was different? And it's like choose your own adventure.
It's
like,
so good.
Man, I wish they wouldn't have broke up. What if they didn't? In my story over here, they didn't, and they got married, and they were married for 27 years. They had 4 kids. Go read it now. And that's kind of it. Kind of gives you like a little bit of a bubble to still live in that world. But those skills that you build while you're writing for fun, you can apply to writing for commercial fiction. Like there's so many authors that started in fan fiction, and I'm one of them.
And it's so funny you mentioned the fan fiction because I'm thinking about like the Star Wars universe. That's ridiculous fan fiction. Marvel, of course, all the comics. There's so many, and there's even a literal What If series on Disney Plus. There is a What If. Yeah, there's a Marvel What If series on Disney Plus.
Yep.
So it's funny you said that. You really.
And you know, your favorite. There's One Direction fan fiction. There's B2K. B2K is a serial killer. What is the name of that group that Omarion was in?
Yeah, that's B2K.
Is it?
B2K
is a serial killer. Okay.
Oh yeah, B2K.
There is no BTK serial fan fiction, but there is a B2K fan fiction. There's Criminal Minds fan fiction. There's every show that you watch. If it's a good show, I almost guarantee you, there's fan fiction about it. Find it. Go read it. It's great.
Your brunch at Ruby started from your actual brunch. Tell us about, because we had the pandemic going on right now, and some of us that had circles like that, we had get-togethers like that, is it kind of restricted due to the pandemic? Speak to some of the power of those circles, those groups, and trying to foster that in the pandemic.
Thank you, Kelly. Kelly loves my lipstick. It's Beauty Bakery Cranberry Stiletto. It's little girl talk. We've definitely grown past a brunch group. Like I said, when I have life issues, I reach out to my brunch girls. I have a bunch of different pockets of friends. There's some people I am friends with that I have known since the early 2000s, the late 99s, that we still have. We've got a group Me Chat. I have a Facebook group of women. I have run this group called Phenomenal Women since 2005. We are still together. We post every day. We talk every day. And the great thing about that, and here's why that's important. And I saw this not 2 days ago. People think that women don't have friends. People think grown women do not have friends. They don't make friends. Yes, Kelly, I'm sure there's K-pop fanfic. I'm almost sure I can find some for you. They think grown women don't make friends, that we can't be nice to each other, that we can't be gentle with each other, that we can't challenge each other, that we can't support each other. And I have so many factions of friends from different walks of life, from work, from school, from this bulletin board, from my brunch group that like, I mean, really, if I needed something, I know at least 39 people that would call to ask me how I'm doing. You know, when my brother died, it was like a deluge of, how are you? What do you need? One of them paid for my flight to go home. Just I need you to get home. Let me pay for your flight. You know, what does your mom need? I had surgery a couple of years ago. One of my friends, like, you know, was like, hey, I'll drive you to the hospital at 5 a.m. I'm gonna text your mom and let her know you're okay. And that's kind of, we just have built this, this friendship and this camaraderie and this support around each other. And I think it's important to display that and to show that, and to also show that we are real with each other. And a thing about Brunch at Ruby's is the women in this book aren't always nice to each other.
No.
They're very real. They're not always nice. And do I have friends that are like, Dom, you're being a little bit of a control freak about this, and I think it's pushing people away? Yes. Because if you have known me since 1999 and you can't say that to me, we got a problem.
Yes.
You know, like,
yes.
you know,
You're
so
right. It's a large narrative I hear for a lot of years about just certain pockets of women feeling like it's so difficult to have female friendships. So many women I know said they'd rather have guy friends than female friends, or the vice versa, because they feel like it's always this cattiness. One of the biggest topics at the end of last year in different circles was females going on a girls' trip. How difficult a girls' trip is, trying to coordinate personalities, and you got to all stay together for a certain amount of days, and they don't like this one, that one. I'm like, in my opinion, I don't know if we have the same thing in the guy world. Like, I don't really hear guys planning a trip like, man, John coming and then Jerry gonna be there. Like, I don't really hear that same kind of a situation at times. So we got to definitely change that narrative.
Yeah. I mean, I think it can be difficult if you are, it's like that unequally yoked thing. Sometimes you can be friends with people who they aren't nice people. Like they're only happy for you when they're better than you, when they're doing better than you, when they can be up higher than you and feel like they can pull you up. But the minute you get higher than them, then they all of a sudden got a problem with it. That's not, you're not equally yoked with that woman. And you can go ahead and sundown that friendship, because friendships do sometimes, they run their course.
Yeah.
There are a lot of friends that I have had, and I've said, you know what? I don't feel like we get any benefit out of this relationship, and I'm okay if we just kind of pull back and not talk again. I'm good with it. So like I said, I'm not an emotional person, so you know.
Let me say this about this book as a guy, because like when I read, even watching movies, I don't really go to the movie theater and cry in the movie. I don't really read many books and have an emotional breakdown or something reading the book. But reading your book, it just hits so close to home to me in so many directions, so many situations. The way you made these characters and things they were going through is just like, I had the Kindle version, I kept putting the phone down, like, and I was inboxing you, like, man, like, the way you wrote this, I was inboxing you directly, like, as I was going through it, just, you know. So the part you wrote in the book, I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I never want to do that. But the part you wrote in the book about like a person caring for their parent, and a person doing those caretaking years, and you seeing a person decline in their health, and you have a lot of big choices to make. Like that was just so major to me reading that in that book. It's just, I was having so many childhood flashbacks.
And I think that specifically women, late 20s, early 30s, even in our 40s, where we are getting to the point where the mantle is flipping and we are taking care of our parents. My mom is 65, my dad is 70, and I yelled at him a couple months ago to get off the goddamn roof, because 70-year-old people don't need to be on the roof cleaning out the gutters. So when we're at this point where we're starting to take care of our parents, and having to talk with our siblings about, okay, you got mom and I got dad, and I'm going to pick up mom's medication and you got dad's walker. We can all, most of us, I won't say all, but most of us can relate to that, because I'm getting to the point where I got to think about what happens, if my dad falls, they live 20 miles from town, like, all these kinds of things, and all these issues that that Renee is going through, taking care of her father. He has Alzheimer's, and she just was not ready. She wasn't ready for the.
And we never are, right? I mean, I remember vividly. I was telling you in private. I remember vividly my grandmother being one of the most prolific people I met in my life, speaking, writing. I mean, you name it. And I had this one college assignment in his life developmental psychology class. And the assignment was to ask a person in your family something about their history. And I remember asking my grandmother this question, waiting to write these answers down. And I realized she couldn't. I realized in that moment she physically couldn't answer these questions. It just rocked me. Because you see these people the way you saw them your whole life, and they're like these gods, these deities. Then when you see them be crushed, where they can't even talk, they can't even write, they can't even do simple
things. They
can't
walk, they can't eat,
they can't cook. It's just that's a blow. That's a blow.
It is. It is like, it's our history disappearing. Like, I just saw an article the other day about I had posted an article about the enslaved and the runaways using black eyed peas to give an alert that there were too many eyes. And I know there was some skepticism about, is that true? I don't see any references to this, but all of our lore, all of our stories, all of our history, most of it is oral.
Yes.
So we're losing so much with Mother Cicely is gone, and Sidney Poitier is gone.
Exactly.
And,
today, look at that.
And
today,
I mean, Toni Morrison is gone.
Yes.
That's our history that they, yes. And so it's doubly emotional when you realize your personal family history is gone. My aunt and uncle, who I dedicated Brunch at Ruby's to, were married over 50 years. They had a blessed, beautiful marriage. They had 11 children. I lived with them when I first moved to Atlanta. You never met a more loving couple who wake up every day, Mrs. Kennedy, what can I do for you? Well, Mr. Kennedy, I think I'm right fine. And that was just them all day, every day. Sweetest Black couple. And that was my father's oldest sister. So there's so much family history that we tried to glean from them before they got too old to remember it. Because my uncle then was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2010, I think. And so he just started losing some of that, that memory, all those stories of, my dad was 5 when they were adults. So they knew him as he was growing up. And so I manage our family tree for our family, and it's vast because people be having a lot of children. So, 14, 15 children. I was like, he was busy, wasn't he?
As the old school.
Uncle Chuck. Well, now, Uncle Chuck, he had 2 outside children, and then he had 8 with Mildred. And all of that, you lose all of that when your older family members die. And so I kind of, what I wanted to capture with Renee was kind of her personal world shrinking because her mother was gone and her father didn't even remember her name. And so that's kind of something that I think a lot of us can relate to.
I think the power in that character, Renee, is because in our families, most times, we want to take care of our own family. That's family tradition. Yes. You're not going to no home. You're not going to, we're taking care of the family. Mm-hmm. But how much does that impact you whenever you're doing that day to day, every day? How much does that over years, it wears on you? Mm-hmm. How does that impact your relationships? How does that impact your self-care, mental health. You know, that piece of it. So I appreciated that in that character. That's something that has to be touched on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
you did it. You did it.
Ruby's is a lot. It'll be
Yeah.
7 years old this year, and I think every time I read it, I realize something else. And like the funny thing is, like when you're writing a story, the story is about this, but then people talk to you and they read so much into the story, and like I see this and I see that, and this resonates so much with me because this is something that I was going through. And like what a friend of a friend worked with Alzheimer's patients, and she was like, I was just crying because I realized this patient of mine was going through this thing where he couldn't remember his daughter's name and he was very upset about it. And she's like, oh, I just had tears running down my face. And I was like, oh. I was just remembering when I went to my aunt and uncle's house and Uncle T didn't know my name.
Exactly, right? I remember my great-grandmother, we were taking care of her. And I was in high school at the time, and I walked in the room, and she was verbally asking, like why Sean don't come and see me? Something she was saying to that nature. But I was standing right there. And she's saying it over and over again. I remember getting up, I couldn't drive in high school. I remember getting on my bicycle and like riding across the city to my high school girlfriend's house, just crying, just devastated. Like I had never experienced that before.
Did she not recognize you?
She didn't. I had never experienced that. I had no frame of reference to deal with that. Now, whenever my grandmother finally got there years later, I mean, I had been there, done that, kind of sort of was used to it. But like in high school, I had never dealt with that. So I didn't know how to deal with it. It was just, man, you know, it's a part of life.
Yeah.
And then you have that grief stage, right? The 5 stages of grief. But you have that pre-grief stage where you kind of, you're trying to make plans, you're anticipating, and you feeling all these emotions before it even happens.
Yeah.
You know where it's going.
Just where it's expected, but it's still sad when it happens, but you know it's coming. You know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
and I think, that was with Renee. I think she was feeling like, I know it's coming, so let me just get ready. At the beginning of the book, Renee had gone down to Georgia because her dad was suffering from, or her dad had, dementia from Alzheimer's. She was going to sell the house and sell the bookstore and put her dad in a home, but her dad wasn't really sick enough to be put in a home, and he didn't want to sell the house, and the bookstore wasn't in any shape to sell, and then she was stuck. And so that's kind of, she just is in it's stasis. I can't go anywhere. I can't do anything. And so that's the predicament that I put Renee in, in that book. Yeah.
My sister here, the book is Black Girl. She said anticipatory grief.
Yes.
I had never heard that term before until she used it a couple of days ago. And she's definitely the expert on grief and things of that nature. I do plan on bringing her up to the platform one day, doing a full show about grief in our community, how we deal with it, community grief. I mean, Sidney Poitier, once again, just passed today. A lot of us are grieving that at one time. So all these dynamics, man, I will bring her on to discuss that. But the Renee dynamic in the book is only one character for those that's listening and haven't read the book. Sister Deborah, in the Deborah situation, I don't want to spill it once again.
I put Deborah through some things.
You did, but it was good because in relationships, whenever these moments happen, it's a lot of backlash that happens thereafter. It's a lot of things, with the kids in the house,
domino effect.
Job, and it's and to see her going through that. And there was a small twist to the story that I can't tell, but I just couldn't believe she made that particular choice. But
yeah, I put Deborah through it, and I distinctly remember writing this book thinking, okay, what else?
You know what's good? Back to the brunch and the circle of friend conversation. I try to pride myself on being the least judgmental person you know. So whenever real life happens, because real life always happens, and my friends call me like, Sean, hear me out. This is what happened. I'm making my duty not to make you feel like less of a person because you did this thing. You're not less of a whatever. You're not a horrible parent. You're not a horrible whatever because you made this choice and this thing happened. And it's highly frowned upon, but we're not going to judge you and make you feel like a outcast and ostracize you. We're not doing that because all of us need some grace at certain points in life.
Yeah.
And you never know whenever it's your phone call. You don't want somebody throwing it in your face. Remember last time you said you don't want that whenever it's you in that spot. You don't want that.
Exactly. When it's your turn, you
you want to listen to ears.
You don't want that same treatment when it's your turn.
No, you don't. And we have Miss Maxine, high and mighty, all about it. You know what it reminded me of? All the characters in the book in their own way. There's this concept, I wrote about it in my first book. It's called the 4 M's of motivation, right? You have like mating, like relationships. You have material, the house, the car, the clothes. And some people are motivated by other things, but the point is all of these characters have a different thing that drives them and a different thing that they care about more than anything else. So the other person might feel like, man, look what they're wearing, look where they live at, look what they driving. Like, man, she ain't on it. Look what I drive. Look where I live. Look where I work.
Yeah.
The other person don't even care about stuff like that. They're not even worried about it. The best perfume and the best heels, but y'all all still friends. You know, in the middle.
Exactly.
Of that.
Exactly. And the key to that
it's
friendship
complex.
It is very complex. The key to that friendship is Renee and Deborah know who Maxine is, who know who Maxine really is, because they grew up with her. So they see through the shine, they see through the facade, they see through, her flashy car and, her hair and nails and, her buckhead apartment and Starkwaite furniture and her fancy job. They see through all of that. They know who Maxine is. And I always tell people when they're going to read this book, it's okay to hate Maxine. It's okay to hate her. I wrote her to be disliked. But my hope is that she comes around for you. She never becomes like a syrupy nice person, but you do get to see underneath that crust or underneath that gloss that Maxine is she's not a nice person, but she will ride for her friends. And
I think for a lot of us in our circles of friends, we have a friend like that, which is why I love the characters in this book. I think we all can relate to those characters from a personal experience, or somebody around you going through some of the same dynamics. If it's not taking care of a parent, we all have friends that have small kids.
Yes.
They feel stressed out and tired.
Yes.
And everything else. We know people that deal with different situations, relationship-wise, things like that. So I think you wrote some phenomenal characters. Where did the characters come from? Was it like all just totally?
Some came, like, Deborah I formed because I was just thinking about, a person who is who would fall the hardest from a pedestal, and it's like the perfect person in the group, but it wouldn't be Maxine because she's not actually perfect. She just thinks she is. It would be Deborah because she is the sensible one, and she is the Susie homemaker, and she has all the right answers, and she's got the perfect life, and the the nice house and the kid and the house with the yard, and she is the one that you wouldn't expect to fall from grace, but she does. And so Deborah was kind of who I formed that person to be. She was kind of handcrafted. Renee is kind of an amalgamation of every woman. I wanted Renee to be like, not me, but like me, like the person that I feel like most people really relate to Renee because she's very every woman. She you know, she lives in a regular house with her dad. She runs a bookstore. She isn't like fashionable. You know, she wears that Juicy Couture sweatsuit with Juicy across the butt because she thinks it's cute. You
Yeah.
know, she's
Yeah.
very regular. She is very regular. And Maxine, Maxine is my friend Kim turned up to like 99. I have this notification that won't go away. Okay. Maxine's my friend Kim turned up to 99, and she knows that
That
Maxine is
that
Kim.
that was the
And
next
so
question.
I
Like,
would be,
is she
yeah,
aware?
so I would be writing and she would be like, she's got to be more irritating than that. Like you got to think like she is really stuck up, shallow, materialistic. She's got, you know, a slick tongue. People always want to pop her in the mouth. But these two girls know her. They have known her since she was 8 years old. So they know the core of Maxine and they
Yeah.
see through everything that she presents. And so I guess, you know, that's why they love her, because they know the real Maxine, and they probably roll their eyes at all of the show. But you know, when they are together as just regular people is, I think, when the real Maxine comes out. My AirPods are dying, so hopefully you don't lose me. So,
Um.
okay.
So the next question. That's your first book. For those
Yeah.
that don't have it, go to the link tree. Please support the author. Let's advocate buying from the author directly if it's possible. Go to the sister link tree and get her book. So how long did it take after you did the first book to start writing the next books that followed? Was it like a long gap in between? Did you keep it going? How'd you go about tackling the next project?
I think the next book, so I published in March of 2015, and I'm fuzzy on the dates, but I had published and I was like, well, now what?
Yes. Yeah.
So what do I do now? And I was like, oh, well, I guess I need a backlist because I need more than one book, because I was already getting when's the next book coming, and I don't know. Like I said, I had those fan fiction stories that were novel length, that I had kind of converted into commercial fiction. So I want to say the second book I put out was Same Time Next Week.
Wow.
That book was interracial, was an erotic romance, and it flopped so hard, Sean.
Oh.
Like it
Oh.
hit the ground just smack. It flopped
Yeah.
so hard.
Yeah.
And I left it up for a while. So I was like, I don't care. It's out there. I don't care. I have a backlist. I don't care. But
Yeah. Do
also,
you?
I think I had reached a point then where I had discovered Black romance. So I
Mhm.
was reading like all these Black authors that I never had the chance to read when I was younger. I grew up in Spokane, Washington. When we went from Rapid City, South Dakota to Spokane, Washington, which is, as you can guess, very white. So we didn't have Elin Harris, and I mean, you could barely get Terry McMillan and Eric Jerome Dickey. So I wasn't reading, you know, all these older, you know, Carl Weber, Elin Harris, all the older Black authors. I didn't know anything about them until I was a full-grown adult. So
Likewise.
yeah,
Me too.
Audra, that book is terrible. You don't want to read it. It's awful. So
Stop that. Let's not do that. Let's not
it's
do
bad.
that.
So there's a reason I unpublished it. So I was reading all these Black romance novels. I had discovered Harlequin Kimani, and I opened the webpage and there's these beautiful Black faces on the covers of books. Zuri Day, Farah Rashan, Nikki Knight, um, other ones. I can't remember their names, but I was like, there are Black people on the covers of this book.
Mhm.
There are Black people on the covers of books. And I
Yeah.
realized that people were writing Black love, Black romance about
Yeah.
Black people with Black people on the cover. And I was like, okay, boom.
That was a
Now you've
game
gone and
changer.
done it. Now
Game
you've
changer.
gone and done it, because I could do that. I never realized really that I could do that until I saw it in print, and I was like, well, now I can do it. So that's kind of where I went. I had unpublished same time next week because it was interracial. It was a uh, Afro-Cuban heroine and a white rock star hero. And I couldn't make him black because his whole character arc was around the fact that he was white. So I really couldn't flip the races on that one like I did with A Thin Line, which I think I put out right after that. But I did when I rewrote that, I made everybody black. From
Black
everybody
and the
black.
black, black and
So
the black, black.
blacker than black because in
Yeah,
the fan fiction story they're
the
all
power of
white
representation.
because NSYNC is white. So I took it from fan fiction to commercial fiction and it became black romance. And from then on, my commitment was to write black romance because also at that time, I think it was like, I don't know, 2018, when there were so many stories out about how black women are the most unlovable race and black women are not attractive and black men don't like black women and black women, black women, black women. Like every day there was a new news story about how nobody loves us. And I was like,
That's horrible.
okay. And so what
That's
I
horrible.
wanted was to fight against that and to have a soft place for us to land.
Yeah.
Worlds where we are black and we live well and we love well. I don't play about that man. He don't play about me. And if you got a problem, you can both see these hands. You know, that kind of just this like fierce, desperate, dedicated, I love you forever kind of love. And also like just stories of like regular black people doing regular black people things. We get up, we go to work, we have breakfast, we go to the store. It's not all
Live life.
struggle and race and you know, like my people were black. They blackety black in my
Yeah.
books. They don't have to walk outside the door and scream, "Hello, I'm black."
Look,
Does anyone have a
it
problem with
just
this? Oh,
is, right?
we just
It just
are.
is. You just are.
We
Yeah.
just are. And
Just be.
so,
Just be.
yeah, so I
Just
want
be.
to write regular, casual black romance. Just like we just
Casual
be
black
out here
woman.
living, loving, being black, loving being black. And that's what I want to write about. I'm not trying to be Toni Morrison because I cannot. You know,
It's
I'm
been
not
done.
trying to be Toni Morrison.
No.
And, you know, I'm trying to be DL White, just writing good books out here.
Okay, so let's motivate and inspire some of the up and coming writers that's watching or they're going to be watching. Take us into an inside look of your writing process. I'm a very process driven person, so I love to ask writers, like, what's their
Hmm.
process? How do they go about tackling a project?
Um, well, first I have to procrastinate on it for a while. All of my longer works, like the full length novels, which are the ones that aren't the shorts, have taken about a year to write. The exception is Beach Thing, which took about 8 weeks to write, and it's shorter. It's like 46,000 words. It's Beach Thing is really it's a shorter book, but the longer ones are like Brunch at Ruby's is 119,000 words. It is a lot of book. A Thin Line is 97,000. The Never List is, you know, over 90,000. I want full stories. Full stories. I don't want the story to feel truncated. I don't want it to feel like I missed something, like I cut something off. So, all those stories, like I get an idea. Like typically, typically it's me being nosy, eavesdropping, and I will hear something and it'll stick in my brain.
Hmm.
Leslie's Curl and Die, for example. Walking out of the door at work, walking next to these two people that are just walking out the door. Hey girl, what you doing this weekend? I'm going to the salon. my stylist has, a booking, an opening for me, blah, blah, blah. Oh, what's her name? Leslie. Bam. By the time I got home, Leslie Baker was sitting in my brain talking about her salon in this little small black Georgia town and how her salon is losing business because someone has moved in and he's opened up a shiny new shop, across the lake. And I started writing it, and the original iteration was kind of, I write to a point where I hit a wall and then I put it away. And I moved on to something else. I read, I watch a movie, whatever. Sometimes I can come back to it and go, no, I know what's wrong with this. But sometimes it could take 6 months, a year. I don't throw anything away. So if I start something, I keep it because I know eventually I'm gonna go back to it. I started the Never List in 2016. I didn't publish it until 2020. That's when I finished it. So I had to know in myself that I am the type of person that I need to think about it. I will initially write out my idea. I will get as far as I can get, but I need to think about it. I need to collect information. I need to stew on it, let it marinate, and eventually that story will pop to the surface and I'll be like, I know exactly how to finish that book. And that's what happened with Curl and Dye. A year later, I pulled it out of the trash and I was like, I know how to finish this book. I know how to finish this book. And I was so excited. And so I finished it. Dinner at Sam's, I was actually trying to write the sequel to Brunch at Ruby's, but it kept turning into a romance. Brunch at Ruby's is women's fiction. It has romance in it. It has a love story in it, but it's women's fiction. So I was like, this isn't a romance. And I was like, you know what? This is not the sequel to Brunch at Ruby's. This is a whole separate romance. And so then you meet Vanessa in Brunch at Ruby's. She works for Maxine. And her story was so much that I heard it in an elevator. I ear hustled this story about a guy who owed $50,000 to the IRS. And his wife was hot about it. We ain't got no $50,000. I don't know where he think we gonna get this money from. And I was like, it's going in a book. Then I was like reading a blog post about a girl who was talking about her friend's husband was totally leading a double life. Like he had like a girlfriend and they had like whole separate friends. Like it was eerie. It was just weird. And so I was like, yeah, that's definitely going in a book. And so that became Dinner at Sam's. And so I would hear, it's a song, it's a conversation, it's something I overheard on the street. Like, ooh, that's a good idea. It's going in a book. And I write it down, and eventually the story blossoms.
Our sister KT, the reader, asks, is the middle the hardest to write? The middle.
Yes. I always know the beginning and I kind of know the end, but I get to a point and I'm like, well, now what? What happens here? It's that middle that I don't plan. I'm not a planner.
I was gonna ask you, are you out? Do you outline?
Not initially. Like I need to start out with like what I call a skinny outline. Who are these people? What do they want? Why can't they have it? Why does anybody care? And I can kind of get the story started from there, because the beginning of the book is your status quo. You're setting your story up. So I can set a story up like nobody's business. I can give you 8 chapters, no problem. But then you get to the point where you're in Act 2 and something has to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens. Like conversations have to happen, but like, are they fixing the car? Are they having lunch? Where does this happen? How does this happen? They need to talk about X thing, but when? And what should they be doing while they're doing it? And like, it really has to play like a movie in my head. I really have to see it happen in my brain like a movie, and then I write it down. If I don't see it in my brain, I haven't thought about it enough. So I'm a discovery writer. I discover the story as I write it. So if I haven't discovered the story yet, I haven't thought about it enough.
Two things you mentioned this now. Two things, right? So I'm watching the master class last night of writing, and the guy talked about having the author's lens. And everything you said is like what he's saying. Like when you live in your day-to-day life, just driving down the street, looking at a billboard, you're hearing the radio, you're talking to people at work. That's where the content comes from. Just living life. And sometimes whenever you get stuck, you got to go and live more life. You got to go and have more experiences. You know, get out of your house, put the laptop down, put the book down, and go and have conversations. Go and talk to people.
Sometimes. Or like my friend Farah Sean she has a whole 3-book series based on something she saw on Twitter. I mean, the stories they just come.
Are you a full-time author? I wish I was.
No, I am not.
I'm not either. I wish I was. Yeah.
I actually don't want to be a full-time author until I retire. I like stability. I need security. I need a 401k. I need insurance. I need to be able to pay rent. And I like my job. I really like my job. And the full-time job allows me all of that security to be able to dream when I'm ready to dream. So I write Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I might edit and kind of review Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but like during the week, I need my brain for the job. And so I kind of compartmentalize my life like that, but I have no plans to quit my full-time job because that job makes it possible for me to be an author.
So let me ask you another question. When you're sitting down in front of a blank Word document and you're just starting the story, is it like intimidating? Is it like nervous? Are you excited to start a new journey? Like how do you fall?
A blank page is intimidating, and blank page is intimidating, and I've said before that I don't like a new year because it's like a whole blank page.
You did say that.
And I'm anxious. I have so much anxiety on January 1 because it's a whole book that you have to fill. I'm like, I already started writing in it, so I can like stop being anxious about it. So I never like just open Word and like be like, I'm just gonna write a book now. I never do that. I always need to pull information first. Like if I get a character idea, I'm gonna run to my stock image sites and I'm gonna pull images of my hero, my heroine, and I start a Pinterest board. I don't use Pinterest for nothing.
I
don't use Pinterest for nothing but like getting ideas and putting together my characters and their stories. So I open a Pinterest board. Here's kind of what he looks like. Here's some inspiration. Here's what she likes, some inspiration. Here's his shoes. Here's her clothes. He likes this cologne. These are the books she reads. He works here. She drives that. Here's his house. Here's her dog. That's how I get to know my characters. By the time I'm ready to open a document, I don't start writing until that first chapter has already started writing itself in my head. I can see the opening scene in my mind, and it really plays like a movie in my head. And like the biggest thing that weirds me out is when people say they don't have an internal monologue, because mine does not shut up.
Yes.
I have movies playing in my head all day.
Yes.
I'm even if I'm not writing, I'm thinking about a book. I have like 4 books in progress right now, and I'm just thinking, and it's rolling in my head, and eventually something's going to gel and solidify. Then I pull out, my 8 chapters and like, okay, I know what happens next.
Yes, Classy.
That's how it goes until it's done.
Classy said DL is a marketing guru too. I'm not sure if you talked about that just yet. We haven't gotten to the marketing part just yet, but we are going to do a segue right now. So back to the blank page and the intimidation of the blank page. I wouldn't say the word intimidating for me, but we both know as self-published authors how much leg work it takes after the book is out to get the word out there. So after my first book, I told myself, I'm not going to write anything else until I put a full year of promo on this book. And I promised myself I'm going to do a full year of this. Radio shows, TV shows, before COVID-19, of course. Going to all the vending I can, all the book signings I can, all the schools. Like, people don't realize the amount of legwork it takes to really get yourself out there, being self-published. So for me,
a lot of work.
when it comes to that blank document, I'm not worried about the writing the book part. That's the easy part. I'm thinking about, are you prepared for the legwork to go and do radio spots 3 times a week, to go and do these schools 5 times a week, to take your weekends, you're going out of town. I'm thinking about that more than anything. I'm not worried about the writing itself. So you are the marketing guru. Talk about some of your marketing tactics and practices. And you market beautifully, in my opinion.
I don't think I'm a marketing guru. I like to have fun with it. I'm being honest. I'm sensitive about my stuff, and I'm vain. And I really think my books are good, and I think everybody should read them. So my goal is always knowing that there are millions of people who have not read my work. How can I put my book in front of them right now in a way that I can afford? And there are millions of eyes on the internet. Put it on the internet, and every once in a while I'll get a big hit from Miss Beverly Jenkins loves to tout my work, and I'm so grateful for that. So Jacinta Howard just wrote a lovely article this winter. I think she put like 20 Black romance books in Upscale magazine, out of Atlanta. I kind of just keep putting myself out there until my name is being spoken in rooms. And really the goal is just to stay out there in front of my audience. I also I had a really rough 2020 and a really rough 2021. And I didn't publish at all in 2021. I just could not. I was busy 2020. I did a lot in 2020. So I did not publish at all last year, but I have 10 books, Sean.
You do.
I have 10 books. So I have 10 reasons to be up in your faces all day. Not all day, but every day. So I post about a book every day.
Sister DL, let me tell you why it's all day, right? We see look what I say about marketing. We see Pepsi in our face all day, ad nauseum. We see Sprite all day. We see McDonald's. You name a product. Nice spot. So the same way these multi-billion-dollar companies doing that, why wouldn't I post my work all day? Why wouldn't I do my promotions for myself and my product the same way they do? That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I definitely don't want any kind of fatigue. I want to give them just enough. And so I've been really working on my marketing and pulling snippets from books that are enticing and engaging, that don't spoil the story, that draw people in. And one of the things that I did all last year was I follow a prompt account on Twitter, and every day they post a word. And you take that word from one of your books and form your quote around that word. And some people just post text, but we all know that video and images are going to catch attention much faster than just text and a link. Always post a link. Always, always, always post a link to your book. So I'm just trying to find a fun way to say, read my book, it's really good. Over and over and over and over. And I am in those stock image sites. I have a premium subscription to Canva. I subscribe to Deposit Photos and Brown Stock and Create Her Stock. And I just be in there trying to find captivating images. And sometimes, I'll take a clip from an audiobook and do the audiogram, and people hear something and they stop. If I got 30 seconds of like a scintillating scene from an audiobook, they hear something and they stop. What is that? What was that? So I want to make people stop. If they hear a song they like, they stop. I want to make people stop, read the post. Oh, that sounds good. And then or the book?
Yeah. So Instagram doing what they always do, hating on me. I got 20
Okay.
seconds left. We coming right back. I want to keep this going. Coming right back.
Okay.
My family coming right back. I appreciate y'all. I just sent BL the invite out. Instagram always keep me off at the hour mark. I knew it was going to come, so we're going right back into it. Get about another 20 minutes out of our sister. We're going to squeeze that lemon. And I think she's right back in the driver's seat, right? So
Okay.
I'm glad that happened because now we can go to a fresh page. I'm going to get like 20 more minutes if possible, if it's fine with you.
Yeah.
And
I already
but
read my chapters for
can you hear me?
tonight. So, yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay. Hold on. Okay. Can you hear me? You can't hear me?
Say something?
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I got you like that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
So the earbuds don't work.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
I was
But
trying
no,
to
so
quit, but whatever.
I'm glad we came right back on a fresh page. I'm gonna get about 20 more minutes of your time, if possible, right?
I was saying
So
I already read my chapters for tonight for 1619, so
yes,
I'm
yes.
being an overachiever.
For all the people that's watching, right when this finishes at 7 o'clock, go on to Black Reader Con. They have the 1619 project. You don't want to miss it. Phenomenal discussion, right?
Good
So
chapter tonight.
yes, it is. So back to the marketing part of being in the book world, because we have a publishing company and people come to us with their manuscript. You know, Sean, I want to write a book. I want to publish a book, but they don't want to really build the audience online, or they don't want to do the leg work when it comes to doing the lives and doing the interviews. They don't really want to do, I want to say, the work of being the author.
Yeah.
The work. Could you speak to the work of being an author? It's so much more than writing.
It is. It's a lot. It's a lot, and I see this a lot in my author groups. They just want to write books. They don't want to. So they are looking for someone that will do their social media and will write their newsletters and will do basically be the face of their book company. And it doesn't have, you don't have to be a lone wolf at it. It doesn't have to be just you. And but you kind of have to be willing to and have the funds then to have someone else do it. But there are, I don't know how many books a day that are published through Amazon alone, thousands. If you think you can just drop a book out there and it get noticed and you achieve critical acclaim, like I published my first book, I sold maybe 60 copies on day one, and that was just because I told all my family and friends to buy my book. And people were like, "Are you rich yet?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
It's certainly going to take more than 60 copies, for that to happen. So it's really, it's a labor of love.
It is.
I actually really, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I really enjoy marketing my books.
Yes.
I just really enjoy marketing my books. And I don't know if it's because I'm vain about them or if that is just my personality type, but I love the daily book post on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I love talking about my books. I read my own books all the time. Like, if you get me to put down my own book to read yours, you're doing real good because I really like my books. So,
let me ask you a
I'm
question.
reading a book and I'm bored, I'm like, let me just read Ruby's again. So yeah.
After you publish a book, how long does it take to read it again? What to even want to read it again? Because a part of that writing process, you're doing them multiple edits, you're going through it over and over before it actually comes out. So
I probably wouldn't reread it right away because when I you're right. When you're
You're
done,
going through it.
and I just get to this point where I am not reading this book one more time. I'm done. I don't want to look at it again. You gotta look at it again. I don't want to look at it again. You gotta look at it again. So I'm tired of the time it's published. But after a couple of months, like I need some distance, some objectivity, because I also get to the point where I'm done where I'm like, this is dumb. This book is dumb. And I need to like, that's when it goes to the beta. Like, give it to me. Give it here and don't touch it. Close it, don't touch it until I send you my feedback. And so that's when I get a chance to just step back, get some distance from it, get some objectivity, kind of let it settle and marinate a little bit. And it might be, you know, a week, a couple weeks if I can stand it, but I need to step back from it before I can look at it, do my final edits. This is weak here, put this word here, send it through Pro Writing Aid so they can call me an uncultured whatever. Like their suggestions are always like, you have 697 corrections to make.
Yes.
I thought I could write.
Yes.
So
I remember
after I publish it, I'm tired of looking at it. And so it'll be a couple of months before I'll reread it, but I will most definitely reread it.
Let me tell you, after my first book, I had no idea what those rounds of edits were like. I didn't know. And we're going through it line for line, multiple times.
Again.
When I finished doing that,
yes,
it took me like 6 months to look at my own book. I was doing promo, I'm doing radio shows, I'm talking about it, I'm selling it. Yes. I'm definitely selling it. I didn't even own one. I had boxes of books.
What do you know?
I was just selling them. I didn't even own one. I was that done with it. Like, I'm done.
I'm the first person to buy my own book.
Really?
I'm the first person to buy my own book, and then I send one to my mother. She won't read them, but if she does not get a copy, there will be hell to pay.
Yeah.
So I am the first. The minute it goes live, I'm the first person to buy my own book.
Okay. So if you were not, you've been writing for a long time. If you were not writing, what would it be for you? What would the other thing be?
I mean, I would.
You seem to be really deep entrenched in your writing, no matter what.
I would rather read.
Really?
I read hundreds of books a year. I would rather
You do.
Yeah. So I was a reader before I was a writer. And while I was reading these stories, started writing themselves in my head, and I couldn't get the people in my head to shut up. So I was writing, and I wasn't ready to write. I didn't have the skills, but I was trying, and I was getting frustrated because I like to be good at something. If I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it right and do it well. And I sucked at it. It wasn't really bad. I don't write trash, but it wasn't the skill that I was reading. And I remember I had written a blog post where I was like, that's it, I'm done. I'm not done. I'm not writing anymore. I'm just going to read books. This is just a books blog. And I was very upset. And I got on Twitter and I just had tears in my eyes. I was very upset because I wanted to write a book, but I wanted it to be good. And I suffered from that thing where you think everything that you write must sound like Maya Angelou. I'm terrible if I write and I don't sound like Toni Morrison and Terry McMillan. And it takes building that muscle. You have to build up your skill. You have to get better at writing. You have to write. And it's not like you have to write every day kind of thing. I definitely don't have that rule because I don't be writing every day. But you do have to build that skill, and you have to read books. How do you know what good reading is if you are not reading books? How, Sway? How y'all writing books and you ain't reading books? How? Please tell me how.
You'd be surprised.
On Twitter.
You'd be surprised. People come to me.
I am surprised. I'm like, what you mean you write books?
People come to me and they say, Sean, I want to write a book. And I'm asking them, like, what's your influence? Who do you like? Who do you read? What inspires you?
They don't be reading.
And they don't read.
Do you know chefs that don't eat? Do you know musicians that don't listen to music? What?
It just makes it makes no sense. But they come like that, right?
Yes.
So you mentioned.
I just want to finish this story real quick because it means
Yeah,
something to me. I was on
yeah.
Twitter. I was very upset at the quality of my writing, and I was very. I had posted on Twitter. I was really upset about it. I got a DM from Professor Tayari Jones, New York Times best-selling Professor Tayari Jones, Atlanta writer. She now teaches at Emory University. She sent me a DM and she said, I know you're feeling defeated. And if you need to take a break, you do that. But I want you to get back on that horse because I think that you can do this. I want you to finish the book.
Yeah.
And I was so touched that she would reach out to me, first of all, Professor Tayari Jones. And then I was like, she thinks I can finish this book. I mean, maybe, I mean, I'm tired. I'm definitely taking a break. Maybe I can. And I did take a break. I think it was like 2012-ish, early 2013. And I didn't pick that book back up until like NaNoWriMo 2013. But then I was like, I'm finishing this book. I told Tiari I was going to finish it. I'm going to finish this book. It might be a steaming pile of garbage, but that's what editors are for.
Yes.
I'm going to finish this book. And if only me and my mama buy it, somebody gonna buy this book. And so so that's kind of really where it started, and it kind of has just snowballed from there.
I love to motivate the future writers because I love on Bookstagram. We're hearing these best-selling authors and they're telling you how many times they're revising their work. These best-selling people, like the sister from the 1619 Project, she said after 1619 Project, the magazine went out a couple years ago. It was world acclaimed. She went back and might have had like 9 or 10 other editions of it.
Yeah.
Like she was still tweaking it after the whole world was going crazy about 1619. It was still, it's never going to be perfect out of your pen. We got to get that out of our mind. It's not going to be perfect because for them, it's not even perfect. They have editors, they have teams, they have all these folks that, you know, to make all the magic happen, you know?
Yes. Yes, it takes a village. It at least takes a writer and a beta reader and an editor. But also when you're self-published, you know, unless you hire a company that helps you put that book out, I'm my own publisher. I do my own cover. I do my own formatting. I do my own marketing. I put my books up at Barnes & Noble and Amazon and Drafted Digital. I decide how much to sell my books for. I decide when they go on sale. So I'm my own marketing department. And so you have to be ready and willing to do the work. And
it might sound intimidating to some people, what you just said. It's also empowering.
It
the
is.
power is in our hands. Like I did my audio books last year. I made way more money on audio versus anything else.
Yeah.
Because guess what? There was no Amazon involved. There was no other party involved. It was straight direct customer to product sales. And so if I charge 25, I get the whole 25.
You get the whole.
I'm not doing the 60-40 split. I'm not doing none of that. We're going straight. You know, a lot of us are taking our work off of Amazon. We having our own websites, our own landing pages. You buy from us directly. A lot of us are going toward that because you realize dealing with these big companies, it could be financially not to your advantage.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So I have, I have books everywhere. I'm widely published. If there's a platform and my books can be on it, and people are looking for my books, I'm there. I also sell direct from my website, and there is better profit when you sell direct. I also want to be where the customers are. I write Black romance, and that's where, like, I'm going to say 88.7% of readers are. So I want my books on Amazon because that's where they be shopped. So my books are also on Barnes & Noble and Apple and Kobo and at the library and on Scribd and on Hoopla. So international, if you're international, something called BookBox or something, my books are there. Libby, my books are there. If there's a spot my books can be, I want them to be there. And it's like, sometimes I look at people that are like, I don't want to market. Like, do you want to sell books? I mean, sometimes it's like, some people just want to be authors. They just want to write. Some people want to be a bookseller. And you can be two things at once, but like, if you just want to write books, then don't publish them. Give them away on your website. If you don't want to be a bookseller, give them away on your website, or contract an agent and sign a traditional publishing deal.
Yeah.
But you're in this self-publishing group to self-publish, and it takes more than throwing your work up on a website and printing out a paperback and saying, buy my book. I don't want to offend anybody. I'm not trying to pick on anybody. I just have been looking at this for like 4 years of just people that don't, like you said, they don't want to do the work, and they're not seeing sales. And I'm thinking, well, I just wonder why, because you don't market. I'm not sure how you think people will find your book. 1,000 books are published a day. So whenever you all publish to a big publishing company, whenever you're at home whenever you're at home just sleeping, at Barnes and Noble's, Books A Million, they have a display in the front of the store, and your book is sitting there, and you go to the airport. Really, only if you're a popular author. Like if you're Sadiqa Johnson and Barnes and Noble, if you're Sadiqa Johnson and Barnes and Noble just picked your book as the book club of the month, your book is going to be front and center. If you're DL White and you just put your book up on Drafted Digital, my book is going to be in row Z, shelf 99. Ain't nobody gonna find it. And even if I was traditionally published, I would still have to do my own marketing. Traditional authors still have to do their own marketing. Unless you're Stephen King, they're not doing your marketing for you.
I mean, because back to the beauty of Bookstagram, following these prominent writers on their page, you see how much they had all of these schools and all of these promotional panels, and how many lives they're doing per week. Like, they got to be burned out. They got to be tired of being live, right? They got to be tired of all of these things. So it still takes that legwork, even at that level of being a writer.
Yeah. Release week.
I was Sister Honore out here, and Robert Jones out here, and Nick Stone is out here, Jason Reynolds. Like, they always
out there.
Continuously.
Out there. Just, I mean, on NPR, on the Stacks Book Club, they just are out there. And I don't even do media interviews. I don't do podcasts. I don't do media. I don't do blogs, anything. I put the book out. I, see if I can get a couple of people to read it, talk about it, promote, myself. And I'm tired. I'm not doing the half of what all these other authors out here doing.
It's rough.
Release week is a lot. Release week, I'd be asleep.
Yeah. And
I'd be asleep after release week. So
once again, the pandemic changed so much. But like my first book before the pandemic, I was really hitting the road, going to different cities, going to do a book signing at different libraries. I was really going to these schools, traveling, packing up the bag, packing up the box of books, hit the road, and like you said, set your own table up, have all the 6-foot posters and all your bells and whistles, and then when it's over with, break it all down at midnight, drive back home at whatever time. Hustle.
And you're doing that like outside of your full-time job.
2 of them. Because back then I had 2 full-time jobs.
Bro, you crazy.
But I wanted it that bad. I wanted it that bad. And just something was really burning inside me to do. So it was like, and luckily for me, my job's not that strenuous. So I'm able to kind of do some writing at work, do some research at work, do some editing. I did a lot of my editing, at work.
Did a lot of editing at work.
I'm just sitting here anyway. I'm just
did a lot of editing
going through it line for line, But like I said, I don't want to keep your time. Yeah. I don't want to keep your time. 16/19 is coming up pretty shortly. I look forward to that. I look forward to seeing the family there. Thanks for helping me kicking off my 2022. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's been wonderful. It's been great. You got so many books. I might bring you back for a different book. A different book.
I have 10 of them, so set it up.
Okay, we'll do it, my sister. Thank you very much. Thank y'all, family. Y'all be safe.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.